Today we'll explore the four main types of conditionals. Each one helps us talk about facts, possibilities, imaginations, and regrets. By the end, you'll know exactly which conditional to use in any situation. Hi, I'm Peter Dominic, and this is your microlecture where we make lessons accessible, simple, and clear. So let's begin with some examples. Let me read them for you. If you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, then it boils. If you study tonight, then you will pass tomorrow's quiz. If I had a million pesos, then I would travel the world. If she had told me the truth, then I would have forgiven her. So you might want to ask yourself, looking at these examples, what do you notice about the way they all start with if? Okay. Do all these sentences talk about the same kind of situation, or do they show different kinds of possibilities? Basically, these examples actually represent different types of conditionals. The water example, okay, is a fact or general truth, something that is always true, like a scientific law. The sentence about studying is a real possible future outcome. It hasn't happened yet, but it could happen if you meet the condition, right? So the million pesos example is an imaginary or hypothetical situation. It's not real, but it shows what you would do if things were different, right? And the last one about telling the truth shows a different past and its result. We use this when we look back with regret or imagine how things could have changed. So, conditionals aren't just grammar rules, they mirror the way we think in everyday life, whether we are talking about facts we know, possibilities we hope for, dreams we imagine, or regrets we carry. So, what do we mean by conditionals? Conditionals are sentences that show a result if a certain condition is met. You can think of them as cause and effect sentences that depend on a condition. One thing happens because another thing is true. So the structure is usually simple. If plus condition, then the result. But here's the important part. Depending on the type of condition, the meaning changes. Sometimes it shows a fact, sometimes a real possibility, and other times just an imaginary or even regretful situation. That's what we are going to explore in this lesson. Let's move on to the different types of conditional, starting with the zero conditional. This is used for facts, truths, and rules, things that are always true under the same conditions. It's as easy as saying, if A happens, B happens, okay? For example, if you mix red and blue, you get purple. Here, both verbs mix and get are in the present simple. It shows a fact that's always true in the same condition. Every time you mix red and blue, the result will always be purple. Another one, if the sun sets, it becomes dark. Again, we see both verbs sets and becomes are in the present simple. This is another universal truth. The action of the sun setting always results in darkness. Okay? This is why we call it the science and common sense conditional. It doesn't talk about the future or any imagined possibilities. It only states what is guaranteed to happen. That's also why it's called zero, because there is no degree of uncertainty or imagination involved, just pure fact. The first conditional talks about real and possible future outcomes. The form is if plus present simple, then will plus base verb. That means the condition is in the present tense and the result uses will followed by the base form of the verb. For example, if it rains tomorrow, we will cancel the picnic. The condition is if it rains tomorrow. This is the condition, so that's present simple. And then the result is we will cancel the picnic. That's will plus the base verb. This shows a real and possible future situation. So if tomorrow brings rain, the natural consequence is that the picnic will be cancelled. Another one, if you study hard, you will pass the exam. Again, the condition is if you study hard, and then that's in the present simple, and the result is you will pass the exam. So will plus the base verb. So this expresses a possible outcome in the future. It's not guaranteed, but it's a realistic prediction. Now, the second conditional is for imagining situations that are unreal, unlikely, or just dreams. So when we say the form is if plus past simple, then would plus base verb. It just means we make the condition sound like the past, but we are actually imagining the present or future. For example, if it were not raining, you would have a picnic. This means that right now it is raining, so the picnic is not possible. We are just imagining what we would do if the situation were different. Now, here's the important part. Why do we say if it were and not if it was? So, in the second conditional, we are not talking about reality. We are imagining something different. English has a special form called the subjunctive, which we use to show unreal or hypothetical situations. In the subjunctive, we use were for all subjects, even for singular ones like I, he, or it. Another one, if I were president, I would change the education system. Again, the structure is were. So that's past simple subjunctive in the condition. And would change, so that's would plus base verb. And that's in the result. I would change the education system. This is the condition, and this is the result. You might think if I was president sounds natural in casual speech. And yes, people do say that. But in formal English, the correct form is if I were. Why? Because were is the subjunctive marker. It tells us that being president is not real, it's just imagined. So the reason we say if I were is not about grammar, matching subject and verb. It's about telling that this is a hypothetical, unreal situation. Again, we use were instead of was in the second conditional to mark the sentence as unreal or imaginary. This is the subjunctive form. So the third conditional talks about things that did not happen in the past, but we imagine how things could have been different. It often expresses regret, blame, or hindsight. So the form is if plus had plus past participle, then would have plus past participle. Think of it as the grammar of regrets. So here we have some examples. If he had listened to the teacher, he would have understood the lesson. The condition is if he had listened to the teacher. So that's had plus the past participle of listen. The result is he would have understood the lesson. That's would have plus the past participle of understand. According to the rule, this sentence talks about an unreal past. So in reality, he did not listen, so he did not understand. The sentence imagines how the past could have been different. If the condition had been true, the result would have changed. Another one, if I had studied, I would have passed the test. Here, the condition is if I had studied. Had plus the past participle of study. And then the result is I would have passed the test. So would have plus the past participle of pass. Again, this is not about the present or future, it's about the past that never happened. In reality, I did not study, and therefore I did not pass. But the sentence imagines a better past outcome. And if the condition had been different, the result would also have been different. Again, this is not about the present or future, it's about a past that never happened. In reality, I did not study, and therefore I did not pass. But the sentence imagines a better past outcome. If the condition had been different, the result would also have been different. This is often the language of regret, blame, or missed chances. It's how we look back and say, if only things had been different. Finally, we have mixed conditionals. These are special because they combine two different time frames in one sentence. Sometimes, a past action affects the present, like a choice you made yesterday, shaping your reality today. Other times, a present condition reflects back on the past, like your current state, making you imagine how you could have acted differently. Another example, if she had gone to bed earlier, that's in the past, she wouldn't be so tired now, that's in the present. The condition here is that if she had gone to bed earlier, that's had plus the past participle of go, which points to a past action. And for the result, we have would plus the base verb of be, and then it describes a present state, right? So in reality, she did not go to bed early in the past. The result is that right now, in the present, she feels tired. This shows how a past action or lack of action has a direct effect on the present condition. Another one, if I were more confident today, so that's in the present, I would have spoken up at the meeting yesterday. In reality, I am not confident today, and because of that, I imagine a different past where I could have spoken up. This sentence connects a present condition to a past action that never happened. So mixed conditionals mix time frames to show how one time affects the other. The first example shows past, then present. A past decision is causing a present result. The second example shows present, then past. A present state makes us imagine a different past. So mixed conditionals remind us that life is interconnected. What we do now affects tomorrow, and what we didn't do in the past still shapes today. So conditionals help us talk about facts, possibilities, dreams, and regrets. So here's my question for you. If you could write one conditional sentence about your own life right now, what would it be? I'd really love to know your thoughts. Drop your answer in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.